Okay. So last night we talked a little bit about developing equanimity. In other words, realizing that all sentient beings want to be happy and want to be free of suffering equally, that nobody's happiness was more important than anybody else's, and nobody's suffering hurt more than anybody else's. And so this is true regarding people that we may consider our friends or our enemies or our strangers, that actually they're all equal in this very, very important way. And in addition, we are equal to all others in this very important way. In other words, our happiness is not more important than anybody else's, and our suffering doesn't hurt more than anybody else's. Okay. So, in one way, this is very obvious, you know? In another way, when we hear it, it's quite an assault on our self-centered egotism, isn't it? Because if we look in our life, you know, we know up here, intellectually, everybody wants to be happy and not suffer, but in here, in our heart, when we live our life, who is the most important one? Me! Okay? And so we all feel this, don't we? Yeah. We try and be polite to other people and nice, and, you know, we try not to look selfish. But, of course, when push comes to shove, and at the end of the day, who do we care about most? This one, me. Okay? And so this self-centered attitude becomes a big problem to actually our own happiness. Yeah? You would think that, you know, being selfish, we would be able to bring about our own happiness. But actually, when the more self-centered we are, the more problems we have. It's strange, but, you know, if we really take some time and analyze our own experience, this becomes very, very clear that the more we just focus on ourselves and look out for ourselves, instead of actually being happier, we wind up more miserable. Okay, so let's look at a few examples of how this works. Okay, so let's say I'm very attached to myself, and I like to have a good reputation, and I want everybody to like me. Yeah? Nobody's allowed to not like me. You know, it's one of the rules of the universe that everybody has to like me. Yeah? So I live with my little rule of the universe that everybody has to like me, but my rule of the universe doesn't correspond with reality, because the reality is that not everybody likes me. Yeah. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person because people don't like me. It just means for whatever reason they don't like me. Yeah. But when I'm very attached and self-centered, the fact that somebody doesn't like me drives me nuts. You know, it's like they're breaking a very important rule of the universe, because everybody should like me. Everybody should say nice things about me. Everybody should praise me to my face, and they should say nice things about me behind my back, and they should honor me and respect me and treat me well. Okay? That's what the self-centered mind does. But then it has nothing to do with the reality, which is that not everybody likes me, and even sometimes the people who like me don't treat me the way I want to be treated. Yeah. Because I don't always tell them how I want to be treated. They're supposed to read my mind and know. Yeah. So they just don't read my mind very well, you know? And so then I get irritated and I get aggravated, because why are you treating me like that? Why? You should be nicer to me. I mean, it's me after all. Yeah. So, you know, getting quite irritated about the way people treat me. Yeah. And so can you see that in this situation, all that irritation on my part, all my suffering of being offended because people don't treat me the way I think I deserve to be treated, that all of that comes due to my self-centered thought. In other words, the problem is not that other people are rude and inconsiderate. The problem is that I unreasonably demand that everybody likes me and treats me well. Okay, are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah? Making some sense to you? Maybe a little bit? Yeah? We don't like to admit it. But, you know, we're all in the same boat. We're with friends. We can be honest. Yeah? Okay? So the self-centered mind makes us extremely touchy and very persnickety and easily offended, easily irritated. Yeah? Because we're filtering everything that happens through the lens of how it affects the most important person in the world, who just happens to be me. Okay? And so when we regard life through that lens, then, you know, like I said, we become very sensitive to every little thing everybody does, because it's filtered through the lens of me. So we become easily suspicious of other people. We don't trust their motivations. We think they're out to get us. We think that they're going to cheat us. We think they're being deceptive. You know, we're very, very suspicious of other people. We take everything very personally. Yeah. And so all of this causes big problems. Okay? So, for example, you know, if I'm very self-centered, then any small thing people do, I filter through my lens of me. So the classic example is, you know, you go to work and somebody at work says, "Good morning." And you think, what do they want from me? They never used to say good morning so enthusiastically. Something must be up. You know, they're trying to manipulate me and get something out of me because they were so friendly when they said good morning today. Okay? So, you know, this kind of thing, it happens, doesn't it? Yeah? So that has nothing to do with the other person. It's just our being so sensitive to everything. Or sometimes it might happen that a friend comes and tries to give us some good advice because we may be on the verge of doing something detrimental, but because we're so self-centered, we interpret that person's advice as criticism and we get angry at them. Yeah. So somebody who's our friend, who cares about us, tries to warn us of you know, that we're about to make a mistake or we're about to do something unethical or something like that, but we don't want to listen because we interpret it as being insulted and being criticized. Yeah. Have you ever had that happen where the situation's reversed, where you were trying to say something to a friend of yours to protect them and keep them from making a mistake, and they got mad at you? Have you ever had that happen? Yeah? We've had that happen. Okay? But do we ever think that maybe sometimes when we get mad, it's the same situation, but in reverse? Yeah? That they're trying to be kind to us and we're the ones who are not paying attention and, getting angry at their, when they're trying to be helpful. So this actually brings up a whole bigger question of how we choose our friends and why we consider somebody a friend. Okay, this is a very interesting question. Because if we look, why do we say somebody's a friend? Well, because they like me, they have similar interests, they make me laugh, they raise my spirits when I feel down. Yeah, they praise me, they give me presents. These are all reasons why we like certain people and consider them friends. And then people that we consider enemies, it's because they criticize us, they blame us, they interfere with our happiness. But, so often, we don't really understand why somebody's doing what they're doing, and we misinterpret it. So there could be somebody who is actually being quite manipulative, but because they say very nice things to us, then we just laugh it up and we're their friend forever. You praise me and I will do anything for you. Yeah? We're like that, aren't we? Are you like that? I am sometimes. Yeah? If you want to get me to do something, all you have to do is praise me, say nice things about me. I'm a total sucker. Total sucker, Oh, here's somebody who likes me, who thinks I'm good. Oh, they're such a wonderful person. I'll do anything for them. I have no discriminating wisdom. Completely blinded by my attachment to praise and my attachment to reputation. Okay? That usually backfires in one way or another because I lose my wisdom and I make bad decisions. So you see how in that case, being self-centered and just wanting people to like me makes me have bad judgment, which leads me into difficult situations? Do you see how that works? Yeah? And in the same way, if there's a friend who comes to me and says, Chodren, you need to be careful about this. You're speaking a little bit harshly, or you didn't tell the truth completely, or you seem to be angry. Somebody points this kind of stuff out to me. Well, I get kind of bristly and say, why are you criticizing me? I am not angry. Stop telling me I'm angry and imputing all your rubbish on me. And get really, yeah? And so here's somebody who's actually, with a kind motivation, trying to help me, but I can't hear it because I interpret it as criticism. So I get bent out of shape and very angry, and I speak harshly to somebody who is actually being a true friend and trying to prevent me from doing something that's dangerous or harmful. Any of you like that? No, I don't think so. I think it must only be me. Poor me. I'm the only one who's such a failure. None of you have that same problem. It's only me. Oh, I can't do anything right. I'm so depressed. Yeah. And then I throw myself a pity party. Okay, we talked about pity parties before, didn't we? Yeah? Yeah? Who throws pity parties? Oh, it's just you and me. Just you and me. See, I said I'm the only one who has these problems. Well, I have one friend now who throws pity parties. Okay, but none of the rest of you throw pity parties? Yeah? She and I can teach you how to throw a pity party. You know what you do when you throw a pity party? the center of the party is you, okay? And you feel sorry for yourself for everything in the world, okay? That you're the worst one in the world, you're the most unlovable one in the world, you do everything wrong, and of course can make everything go wrong, and everybody misunderstands you, and nobody treats you right, and nobody appreciates you. And so you have a party, so you have your balloons, you know, and they all have unhappy faces on them, yeah? And you play the music at your pity party, and the tune is, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. And you recite that your poor me mantra 100,000 times. You take out your prayer beads, you know, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. I do everything wrong, no one loves me. I do everything wrong, no one loves me. I do everything wrong, no one loves me. And you know, you recite your poor me mantra, single-pointed concentration. You thought you couldn't concentrate, well, you can, you know. Because when we throw our pity parties, you know, nothing distracts us from our pity party. Right? Right? Nothing distracts us. We just stay totally miserable in our pity party. And then we blame the world for it, because everybody else is supposed to know we're depressed, and they're supposed to come cheer us up, cheer us up. Yeah? Do you do that? Yeah? You get kind of irritable or depressed, and you don't say anything to the people that you live with, like, you know, I feel a little bit down, or I'm in a bad mood today. But you just kind of walk around like, And in the back of your mind, you want your family members or your friends to come over and say, oh, how are you? You look sad today. Can I do something for you? I'll serve you breakfast in bed. You're so wonderful. You know, we're waiting for our family to come and kind of dote on us. Yeah? And do they? You know, do they come and dote on us and cheer us up? No, they avoid us. Can you imagine that? Just the time when we feel a little bit down and we can use some encouragement, and our family members avoid us. Unbelievable how they are. Yeah. And we have absolutely no understanding of why they might avoid us. You know, we don't even consider that maybe it has to do with how we walk around the house. Boom, 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 as our steps, you know, our steps, boom, 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 boom. You know, and you pick up the newspaper at breakfast. Hi, dear, how are you? Oh, kids, be quiet. You know. You hide behind the newspaper. And then you wonder why your family life isn't everything you thought it was going to be. Do you think maybe it has anything to do with you? Yeah. Do you think maybe there's something we could do to improve our family life? Or are we certain that it's always everybody else's fault? Yeah, that they don't appreciate us, they aren't nice to us, they expect things from us. Okay, so are you getting some feeling about how our self-centered attitude works and how it makes us miserable? Hello out there? Are you getting some feeling? Yeah? Okay. So, so often we feel victimized by life, but we're the ones that are making ourselves into a victim. And we actually have the ability to change our life experience, but we stay so stuck in our self-pity and our self-centeredness that we don't do what we actually can to improve our relationships and to improve our own life. And instead, we expect the world to just treat us better. Yeah, it's completely unrealistic, isn't it? Totally unrealistic. So I'm going to give you a homework assignment. Of course, if I do, maybe you won't come back tomorrow night. Okay, but your homework assignment is between tonight and tomorrow night, try and be kind to the people you live with. Yeah? Try and go home and smile at the people you live with. And before you open the door to your flat, think how fortunate I am to live with people I care about. Yeah? And be nice to everybody you live with, not just one family member. Just try it. Just try, experiment, okay? Yeah. Just experiment and try being a little bit more cheerful, a little bit nicer, a little bit more helpful, especially to the people that you don't tend to get along with so well. Just try that and see if it changes the relationship at all. Okay, so try it between tonight and tomorrow night, and come back tomorrow. Because if you don't come back, then I'm just going to be depressed and sit and cry and feel sorry for myself. So what I'm getting at is that while our self-centered attitude pretends to be our friend, and it pretends to be looking out for our own welfare, in actual fact, the self-centered attitude interferes with our happiness. So it interferes with our happiness right now, as we could see through the examples that I gave. It also interferes with our future happiness, because our future happiness is very dependent upon the karma that we create. Karma just means actions. Our mental actions, our verbal actions, our physical actions, those are all karma. Yeah? So what we will experience in the future is dependent upon the actions that we've done in the past. When we are under the influence of the self-centered mind, often we do many harmful actions that we are the ones who experience the result of these harmful actions. Okay? So if we look back in our life at some of the times when we've haven't kept the precepts, times, let's say, when we've lied to other people, what kind of mental attitude lay behind our lying? Okay. It's usually a wish for self-protection and for self-gain, isn't it? Yeah. I'll lie to cover up something that might make me look bad. I'll lie to do something so that I get some benefit that I wouldn't have gotten anyway. Okay. So then we do these destructive actions of lying, and then in the future it brings the result that other people lie to us, and that even when we speak the truth, people still don't believe us. So, and sometimes it can even bring results in lower rebirths, very unfortunate rebirths. Okay? So all the lying we do, it's done under the influence of the self-centered mind. Yeah? Or when we talk badly about people behind their back. Anybody who's never talked badly about somebody behind their back? Anybody who's never done it? It's one of our favorite pastimes, isn't it? Yeah? To sit and criticize other people when they aren't there and they can't defend themselves. Yeah? So especially at the workplace, we gang up with a few people and we talk bad about that one. And then the conclusion of the whole conversation is, well, us few people must be the best ones in the world because everybody else is bad. And we all agree that they're all bad. Yeah. So we trash people behind their backs. Why do we do that? What kind of mental states motivate us to speak badly about other people behind their back? Yeah. Sometimes it's jealousy, isn't it? Yeah. Somebody's really good or they have some benefit and we can't stand it because we think we should be good and have that benefit. So we want to bring them down, so we talk badly about them behind their back. Or sometimes it's our own insecurity. We don't feel so secure, so if we talk badly about somebody else when they aren't there, then, well, if they're pretty bad, then we must be better, so we're okay. And then that way we feel a little bit more secure. It's rather a stupid way to feel confident and secure, but we do it. Okay. So, we can see when we talk badly behind people's back, it brings problems in this life, because eventually the people that we talk badly about finds out, and then they reciprocate the kindness and talk badly about us behind our back. Okay. And then we have all sorts of relationship problems, and other people don't trust us. Because I know, for example, if somebody comes to me and trashes somebody else, yeah? Okay, so they're not even talking badly about me, they're talking badly about somebody else, but if I hear them like really talk in a very vicious way about somebody else, I don't trust that person because I know sooner or later they're going to talk that way about me to somebody else. Okay? So when we talk badly about other people behind their back, even our friends lose faith in us and don't trust us. And then we create so much negative karma, which leads to unhappy rebirths. And it leads to us having a lot of conflict in our relationships. Okay? And yet all that is produced by the self-centered mind. Okay? Because we never say, oh, I'm going to talk badly about somebody behind their back for the benefit of all sentient beings. Yeah, that's not our motivation. Our motivation is always self-centered. Okay? So, when we really look, we see how this self-centered attitude really imprisons us, and keeps us bound in a cycle of constantly recurring problems. It keeps us bound in cyclic existence. Okay? So understanding the defects of the self-centered mind, then we have to oppose it. Yeah? And it's very important in this process that we don't hate ourselves for being selfish. Because hating ourselves for being selfish is more self-centeredness. Yeah, it's just the same old thing. I'm so self-centered, I'm so bad, no wonder nobody likes me. It's just the same, same thing. So we don't want to hate ourselves or beat up on ourselves because we are self-centered. What we want to do is realize that the self-centeredness is not an inherent part of us. It is not part of who we are. Yeah? It's something that we can let go of. It's something that we can apply the antidote to and counteract. And so when we really see the disadvantages of this self-centeredness, it gives us some courage not to follow it. And when the self-centered mind kind of comes up and says, okay, speak some harsh words to that person, we say to ourselves, I'm going to keep my mouth closed. Because I know that speaking harshly or making fun of somebody damages me and damages the other person, and is just giving way, falling under the influence of the self-centered thought. Okay? So we try to oppose it, and instead we replace it with the thought that cherishes others. Okay? And that thought that cherishes others is really very important. Yeah, because when we cherish others, we feel happy and they feel happy. And cherishing others, kindness to others, it's really what our whole life is about, isn't it? Ever since we were born, we've experienced kindness from others, and when we can repay that kindness and share kindness with others, then we have a feeling of deep satisfaction in our own heart, and then other people also feel happy. So I wanted to talk there about the defects of self-centeredness by way of introduction, and then tomorrow I'll talk a little bit more about the benefits of cherishing others and the kindness of others. But right now I want to go back to chapter 3 of our text. Okay? So, as I was saying yesterday, this text is written for people who want to become fully enlightened Buddhas. Excuse me. And who are in the process of generating the bodhicitta, the aspiration for full enlightenment for the benefit of all beings, and who want to do the practices of the Bodhisattva. Okay? And so the first chapter talked about the benefits of bodhicitta. The second chapter started talking about how to prepare our mind to generate bodhicitta. So the second chapter talked about offerings and paying homage, and it also talked about confession and revealing our mistaken actions and purifying them. And so remember that we were saying that these are all some of the practices of Pusyen Pusa. Did I say it okay? Yeah, so Samantabhadra is the Sanskrit name. So chapter 3 continues with some of those practices of Samantabhadra. And so the verses that we covered last night, the first 3 verses, are the verses about rejoicing, where we rejoice in our own and others' virtue, in our own and others' good deeds and goodness and good fortune. Okay? So now, tonight we'll start with verse 4, and this is another one of the vows of Samantabhadra, and it's the vow or the practice of requesting to receive teachings. Okay? So the verse reads, "With folded hands I beseech the fully awakened ones in all directions that they may kindle the light of Dharma for those who fall into suffering owing to confusion." Okay? So with hands folded, with our palms together like this, indicating that we really mean what we're saying. We're not being flippant, we're being very sincere. Okay? We beseech the fully awakened ones, the Buddhas, in all the directions. So all the Buddhas everywhere in the entire universe, up, down, east, west, north, south, the intermediate directions, everywhere, that that they may light the light of the Dharma. They may kindle the light of the Dharma. Okay? So kindle the light of the Dharma here means to give teachings. Yeah? And it's important that we receive teachings, because in order to gain any realizations, as we were discussing last night, we have to first hear the teachings and then think about them and then meditate on them. Okay? So to receive teachings, we have to request teachings. Yeah? The Buddha doesn't come along and say, "Here I am, I'm going to teach you." We have to request. And so the tradition is usually that we request 3 times to receive teachings. Or if we want to take refuge or take the 5 lay precepts, we request, and we request more than once. Okay? In other words, we have to put out our energy in order to receive the teachings and receive the spiritual guidance. Yeah? We shouldn't expect our spiritual teachers to be our employees and our servants. Okay? Sometimes we do. Sometimes we're a little bit like spoiled babies. Okay? Because I'll hear people say, "Oh, you're having teachings at 7:30? Can't you make the teachings at 7 o'clock? It's much more convenient for me if the teachings are at 7 o'clock. Yeah. Why are the teachings so long? Can you make the teachings shorter? I'm busy. I want to go, I have other things I need to go and do." You know? Or they say, "Oh, you're scheduling the retreat this weekend? That's not a good weekend. Can you make it that weekend? I can come then." You know, and no kidding, I can't believe you. I can't, tell you sometimes the things that students ask of their teachers, as if, our teachers were our servants and they should completely do everything in a way that's convenient for us. So we need to very much overcome that kind of attitude that either takes our teachers for granted and takes the teachings for granted, or the attitude that really expects everything to be on our terms and the way we want to have it, and instead to cultivate the mind that really sees the preciousness of the teachings and the kindness of our spiritual mentors for teaching us. And because we see the value of the teachings and we really earnestly want to receive them, then we go and we humbly request, "Please teach me." Yeah? Yeah? So that, the more we have that mind that appreciates the teachings and appreciates our teacher, the more we're going to be open and receptive when we hear the teachings. When we have the mind that this is like, "Oh, well, somebody's there teaching and, it's their job teaching and I have nothing better to do tonight, so yeah, I'll go and I hope they give a good talk that's funny. I don't want to be bored to death like I was last time I went." If we have that kind of idea in our mind, are we very open and receptive? No. Even the Buddha appeared before us and taught us the Dharma. We would find something to complain about, or we would be bored, we would be unappreciative. So I think it's really important for us to do some contemplation about this and to really feel it in our hearts, so that we are willing to go out of our way to receive teachings, and that we're willing to go to our teachers and make an offering and kneel down and say, "Please teach me." And then if we request teachings, to show up for the teachings. Yeah, because I've had it happen where somebody's requested teachings, I organized the teachings for a group, and then the person who requested it didn't come. Unbelievable. But believable. It happened. Okay? So not taking the teachings and teachers for granted is something that is important for us, to make our own mind more receptive to the teachings. Okay, so the verse says, to kindle the light of the Dharma, in other words, to give teachings, for those who fall into suffering owing to confusion. In other words, please teach all of us suffering sentient beings who cycle up and down in samsara again and again under the power of our confusion and our ignorance. And I've been having some interviews these days, and somebody yesterday came to interview me, and she asked, what have you learned over these years in your Dharma practice? And I said, well, one of the things I've learned that I haven't completely comprehended yet, I feel like I'm just beginning to get some understanding of it, is the depth of our ignorance. Yeah, how deep and persistent our ignorance is. When I first came to the Dharma, I didn't think I was very ignorant. I mean, okay, I didn't know calculus very well, but so what? That's how I defined ignorance, that kind of thing. But then as I began to practice Dharma and really look at my own mind and see how many wrong conceptions exist in my mind, and how even if I have intellectually the right conception, I often forget it in my daily life, and I act under the influence of the wrong conceptions. Yeah? So really seeing how we sentient beings are so ignorant that we don't even realize how ignorant we are. Yeah? When we see that more and more, then we really have compassion for ourselves and for others, because we really see how much we suffer under the force of our ignorance and confusion. Okay? When we see that clearly, then when we make requests to our teachers to teach the Dharma, there's really some strong feeling in our heart of, I've been suffering all this time due to my ignorance, and so has everybody else, and please, show me the way out of my own ignorance. Okay? When we have that feeling strongly and we request strongly like that, then our mind is so ripe and open to hear the Dharma. Yeah? So we practice developing that kind of state of mind by, reading these verses and trying to meditate as they describe. Okay? So that's verse 4. Verse 5. Yeah. With folded hands I supplicate the jinas. The jinas means the conquerors, which refers to the Buddhas, because they've conquered all the defilements. So with folded hands I supplicate the conquerors who wish to leave for nirvana, that they may stay for countless eons, and that this world may not remain in darkness. Okay? So this is another one of Samantabhadra's practices, and here we are requesting the Buddhas, please don't pass into parinirvana, but please keep on manifesting in our world. Yeah? So we're requesting the Buddhas, please appear in our world in whatever form is suitable to subdue sentient beings' minds. Please manifest in those forms and teach us and guide us. Don't abandon us for your own nirvana. Now, of course, from the side of the Buddhas, they would never abandon us to remain in their own self-complacent nirvana. Okay, because the whole reason they attained enlightenment was to be able to benefit us. So we don't have to worry about them kind of walking out on us. But the thing is, we walk out on the Buddhas. okay? And so what this verse is trying to do is to get us to pay attention to the Buddhas and how precious it is, to live in an age where, for example, Shakyamuni Buddha has appeared and has given teachings, and where we can learn those teachings, and where Buddhas have manifested in many other forms, some of which we don't always recognize, but in different aspects in order to teach us and guide us. Yeah? And so when we see this and we really appreciate it and request them to come and teach, then again our own mind becomes much more supple, much more open to hearing teachings, much more appreciative of the Dharma. And that open, receptive mind enables us to gain realizations. Okay? Then, verse 6, may the virtue that I have acquired by doing all this relieve every suffering of sentient beings. So this is the practice of Samantabhadra, of dedication of merit. Okay? So all the virtue that we've required by doing all of this refers to paying homage to the Buddhas, bowing to them, making offerings, confessing our mistaken actions, rejoicing at our own and others' virtues, requesting the Buddhas and our teachers to teach us, requesting the Buddhas to continue to manifest in the world. So all these preceding practices that we did, all the virtue, the merit, the good karma that we created from that, we're now dedicating. Okay? And how are we dedicating it? So that every suffering of every sentient being can be relieved. In other words, we're dedicating so that every sentient being can attain liberation and full enlightenment, so that none of the suffering of cyclic existence can touch them anymore. Okay? So dedicating our virtue is actually a practice of generosity. And I'll tell you a very touching story. When I first came to Singapore in 1987, some of you I've known since then. Yeah, it was 21 years ago that I first came to Singapore, and I was living here and teaching. And one man, my little book, I Wonder Why? Some of you seen that? So one of the men who very kindly sponsored the first printing of that book, okay? So, really a lot of kindness, because the book is still in print now, and he was the one who started it. Anyway, he came one day to me and wanted me to explain something about meditation and how to do the different prayers and recitations. And so I sat with him and explained all that to him. And then at the end, I said, let's dedicate the merit that we created. And by dedicating the merit, we imagine that we give all the positive potential, the good karma that we've created, we share it with all the other sentient beings, and we really wish that it ripen in their happiness. And this man, he was so sincere, he looked at me and he said, I have so little merit, I don't want to give it away. He was really frightened by dedicating the merit. And I said to him, it's okay, don't worry. When you give your merit, you actually increase it, and there's more of it. You don't have to worry about giving it away and not experiencing any good results of it yourself. You will experience the good results. Okay? So we really, when we dedicate, at the end of our meditation sessions, at the end of our teaching sessions, we really want to have a sense of richness and then share all that virtue with all the sentient beings, really aspiring that it ripen in their ultimate happiness. Okay? Now, okay, so the first verses that we talked about, these first 6 verses, were the continuation of the vows of Samantabhadra that were started in chapter 2. Now we're going in verse 7. We're going to start a new section where Shantideva is talking about how to transform our mind into an attitude that is most able to benefit sentient beings. In other words, how to really open our mind and dream in a very expansive way of how we would like to benefit sentient beings. Okay? And the purpose of this is to really increase our inspiration and our aspiration to be of great benefit and service to other living beings. And when we do this, it has the effect of making it easier for us to actually be beneficial. Yeah? Because sometimes we may encounter situations where we could do something to help somebody, and we go, I'm busy. I don't have time. They don't deserve it. They haven't been nice to me. We have 1,001 excuses why we can't do something nice for somebody. Okay? When we practice these verses that are written in here of really aspiring to benefit sentient beings, it really turns our mind in that direction and familiarizes us with that intention, and that makes it much easier when we actually encounter a situation when we could be of benefit, to not be lazy or not be lacking in compassion, and to spontaneously just reach out and help. Okay? So we're going to start these verses now that talk about, generating the aspiration to benefit. Okay? So the first verse in this section, it's verse 7, says, "May I be the medicine and the physician for the sick. May I be their nurse until their illness never recurs." Okay? So think about it. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be a Buddha where you could manifest many different bodies according to what different sentient beings needed at any particular time? So if somebody needed a doctor, you could appear as a doctor. If somebody needed medicine, you could appear as medicine. If somebody needed a nurse or a caregiver, you could appear as that caregiver. Wouldn't that be wonderful, where you could actually do that? Yeah? And actually be happy to take care of all these people who are sick? Yeah? Wouldn't it be nice to have a happy mind that really wanted to take care of people who are sick? And wouldn't it be nice to really wish that they were all cured of their illnesses and that those illnesses never recurred again? Okay? So this is a practice for us to really spend some time on, because what this practice does is it counteracts our mind that sometimes is reluctant to help people who are sick. Okay? Have you ever had a relative or a friend in the hospital and you kind of know that you should go visit them, but you don't want to? You ever had that situation? Yeah? And when you look inside yourself, well, why don't I want to go to the hospital to see them? Well, I might get sick, and I might see something really ugly, and it's kind of depressing seeing people who are sick. And seeing people who are sick reminds me that I could get sick, and I don't want to be reminded of that. And being in a hospital reminds me of the fact that we could all die, and I would prefer to ignore that. So, sometimes we really come up with all sorts of things that prevent us from helping somebody who's sick. And again, it's a manifestation of our own self-centeredness, and in this case, our own fear. Okay? So by meditating on this verse, by contemplating this verse, and just thinking, how wonderful it would be to have the mind where whenever I saw somebody was sick, my instinctive reaction was to feel, may they be cured of their illness and their injury, and may I help to bring that about, and may I reach out and actually help them. Okay? Wouldn't it be nice to have that kind of mental state? Hello out there? Yeah? To overcome our fear, to overcome our selfishness. Okay? So I think this verse not only refers to helping people who are physically ill, but it also refers to helping people by giving them the Dharma. Because there's a very common analogy in the Buddha's teachings that the Buddha is like the doctor, the Dharma is like the medicine, and the Sangha are like nurses. We're the patient, okay? And our disease is cyclic existence. And the virus that's causing our disease is ignorance and self-centeredness. Okay, and craving and clinging and anger and animosity. So the Buddha diagnoses our disease and its causes. He gives the medicine of the Dharma, and then the Sangha helps us to take the medicine. Okay? So this verse can also refer to helping people be free of all the misery of samsara by acting as a Dharma doctor, Dharma medicine, and a Dharma nurse. Okay? Then, verse 8. With showers of food and drink, may I overcome the afflictions of hunger and thirst. May I become food and drink during times of famine. Okay. So with showers of food and drink, may I overcome the afflictions of hunger and thirst. Wouldn't it be nice to have your own private jet and tons of food and go to Darfur and aid among all the people who are suffering there? Wouldn't that be nice to be able to do? Yeah? To be able to have the material wherewithal, to be able to have the skills, to be able to clear away the hindrances from the various rebels that are preventing the people in Darfur from getting food and water. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to go in and give them these basic elements of life? Yeah? And so we think of, various beings who are actually suffering from hunger and thirst right now, as we throw away extra food from our meals and they don't have enough to eat themselves. Yeah? And so wouldn't it be nice if we could share food and drink and clothing and medicine and shelter with them? Yeah? And not just by, we may start out by writing a check and donating some money for that, but wouldn't it be nice if we could also be personally involved and go to these places and give them the food with our own hands and give them the water with our own hands and really see how happy they are when they have food and drink? Okay? So we imagine being able to do this, and we develop the aspiration to be able to actually do this. And not only to take food and drink to these people, but as Buddhas, can we even manifest as food and drink ourselves? So that if there's no food to be had to bring to people who are starving, may we manifest as food or as water, as beverages, as whatever they need. So personally speaking, I find these kinds of verses so inspiring, to just sit and think, wow, I really wish that I could do this. Now, and of course, in one way, it's a totally impossible wish. But you still wish it anyway, because bodhisattvas pray for even things that are impossible. Because the thing is that when you aspire for things, no matter how far out they are, they release and open our mind. They release the self-centeredness from our mind, open our mind to actually being able to connect with other beings and step out and help them in even the situations that encounter us that we encounter in our daily life. Okay? Verse 9, may I be an inexhaustible treasury for the destitute. With various forms of assistance, may I remain in their presence. So all those who are destitute, all those beings who are poor, who lack even the necessities of life, food, drink, clothing, medicine, shelter, may we become an inexhaustible treasury where whatever they need, we have and we give to them. Wouldn't that be wonderful to be able to do that? Yeah? And with various forms of assistance, may I remain in their presence. So various forms of assistance. Some people need doctors, some people need accountants, some people need a babysitter, some people need somebody to fix a broken joint, somebody needs somebody to cook for them, So whatever sentient beings need, may we fulfill their needs and give them what they need so that they don't have to suffer from deprivation and lack. So may we remain in their presence. So may we, not just go and give them something and run away back to our own flat where we're comfortable, but where we really stay with them and help and be able to go through all the difficulties that helping sentient beings can sometimes entail. Okay, verse 10, for the sake of accomplishing the welfare of all sentient beings, I freely give up my body, enjoyments, and all my virtues of the 3 times. Okay, so in order to accomplish the welfare of all sentient beings, in order to not only give them the temporal pleasure in cyclic existence, but to accomplish their ultimate welfare, which is leading them to liberation and enlightenment. So in order to do all of that, may we really practice perfect generosity, giving our body, giving our enjoyments, and giving our virtues. Okay? And giving them of the 3 times. So our past bodies, enjoyments, and virtues, our present body, enjoyments, and virtues, and every body, enjoyments, and virtues that we may have in the future. To not hold any of this in a self-centered way with a feeling of poverty, but really have such an incredible, open, generous heart that we want to give and share all of this for the accomplishing the welfare of all these sentient beings. So at first, we think, it'd be great, give my body, my enjoyments, and my virtues to everybody. And then we start thinking about it a little bit more. Give my body? Hold on a minute. I want to renegotiate this verse. Okay? Maybe after I'm dead, then you can have my body. But I'm not so sure I want to give you my body right now. And give you all my wealth and my enjoyments. I have to move out of my flat so you can move in? I don't know if I like that. Give up all my nice clothes, give up my car, give somebody else my MRT pass? I don't know about that. Give up my cell phone? Impossible. Can't give up my cell phone. My cell phone's part of me. It's glued. Oh, I forget, you call them hand phones here. We not only have 5 fingers, we also have a hand phone. Okay, it's glued to us. We can't separate from it. Yeah, and we also not only have 2 ears, but we also have 2 earphones. You know, so we can walk down the street, you know, with our iPod, you know, tune out the rest of the world. Yeah, and still walk down the street. You know, with our cell phone, our iPod, you know. And now you can even have Windows on your cell phone. Oh, we all need to upgrade to that, don't we? Yeah. And then, you know, give up SMSing people. Oh, no, I can't give that up. Yeah. Give up my credit card? That's asking too much, you know. So when we really begin to think about what these verses mean, all of a sudden our self-centered mind rises up and says, no. You know, I'll give some things. I'll give what I want to give, when I want to give it, when it won't inconvenience me and I won't feel any loss from it. That's when I'll give. But I don't want to give when it endangers my own happiness, you know. Even if I have 2 or 3 cell phones, I'm not going to give one up. How many of you have more than one hand phone? Really? How many of you have more than one computer? Oh. Okay. I always think it's so funny. We have 2 shoes. We have 2 feet. And how many pairs of shoes do we have? Yeah, have you ever looked in your closet how many pairs of shoes you have? And you can only wear 1 pair at a time. But we don't want to give any of them away. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes in this process of generating these aspirational verses, we'll find that the self-centeredness really comes on very strong. And we get very miserly, very clingy, very afraid. When that happens, okay, then we have to go back and contemplate the topics that we talked about at the beginning of this talk. In other words, all the disadvantages of self-centeredness. Because when we think of the disadvantages of self-centeredness, that gives us a lot more courage and determination to not follow it, because we see that it's actually something that harms us. Okay? And then we go back and we think about the benefit of helping others, and we really, you know, imagine others being happy, and then that gives us a lot more inspiration to be able to help them. Okay, so we have to go back and think about these things. Okay, so I think that's enough on the verses tonight. I wanted to leave some time for questions and comments. So you can write your questions down, or if you want to come up and use the mic here, you can do that. Okay. So here's somebody saying, what's the significance of taking refuge in the 5 precepts? And are you going to give refuge? And I would like to take refuge under you. Okay. So the practice of taking refuge is entrusting our spiritual guidance to the Buddha Dharma Sangha, and really getting very clear in our own mind that we want to be followers of the Buddha and we want to practice the teachings that the Buddha gave. So there's a ceremony of taking refuge in the presence of a teacher, and it's a short ceremony, but it's very nice because it connects us to the whole lineage of teachers going back to the time of the Buddha. And at that time, we also have the opportunity to take some or all of the 5 precepts, which are to not kill, to abandon stealing, to abandon unwise sexual conduct, to abandon lying, and to abandon intoxicants. So you can take any or all of those precepts, and the precepts act as an incredible kind of protection for our mind, because we already have thought about mistaken actions that we could do, and we've decided that we don't want to do them. So then when the situation comes up in which to do them, we don't get confused because we've already decided we're not going to do, lie or steal or whatever. Okay, so yes, some people have requested that I give refuge. This is one of the things that you have to request. Okay, so when people request to give refuge and to give the precepts, so I'll do this over the retreat. On Saturday and Sunday, we're having a retreat here. The retreat will be on the meditation of Chenrezig, who is Kuan Yin. Chenrezig is the Tibetan name for Kuan Yin. So it'll be a meditation where we imagine Kuan Yin and recite Om Mani Padme Hung and meditate on compassion. And at the very end of the retreat on Sunday afternoon, probably around 3:30, 3:45, then we'll have the ceremony of taking refuge and precepts. So people are welcome to come for that. So is there a limit to helping someone? I don't think there's a limit to helping people, but we do need wisdom in how to help people. Okay? So I'm kind of interpreting that question as maybe somebody is thinking, well, I've helped somebody, and then I've helped them again, and then I've helped them again, and they just keep making the same mistake again and again and again. So do I have to keep helping them again? Because they don't follow any good advice. They don't take responsibility for their life. Okay? In that kind of situation, there's no limit to helping somebody, but the way you've been helping them needs to change. Okay? So if you've been, let's say, you keep giving somebody money to pay off their debts and they keep spending their money unwisely, that doesn't mean you have to keep giving that person money. You can stop and say, you don't know how to manage your money wisely, and the money I've given you has just been spent here and there, so I'm not going to give you any more money. Okay? But that doesn't mean that you close your heart and you stop helping them altogether. Okay? You still keep an open heart, and then you think of other ways that you may be able to help them, like take them to a course on how to manage their personal finances, and that may be what they need much more than a loan. Okay? You getting what I mean? Okay, so in your book, you advise not to move somebody's body after they've died for at least 3 days, in which case, wouldn't it be impossible for us to donate our organs? I think the whole question of organ donation is something that is up to the individual. Some people feel very, very strongly, I want to donate my organs, and so in that case, they're very happy if the doctor, removes certain of their organs right away as soon as their breath stops or their heart stops, and gives their organs to other people. And that's a fine choice. If people feel very strongly that they want to do that, it's really quite wonderful to donate your organs. For some people, they hesitate to donate their organs. And I think there can be some good reasons for that hesitation and some not so good reasons, okay? A good reason to hesitate to donate your organ is if you're concerned that your mind stream may not have left your body at the time the surgeons remove the organ, and that could disturb your own death process, okay? And at the time of death, we really want the death process to be smooth and to not have the consciousness be rushed out of the body. We want the consciousness to be able to absorb and be peaceful and so on. So somebody may choose not to donate their organs because they have concern. It could disturb their own death process. So I think that's an okay reason. Other people may say, but it's my body and I don't want to give it to anybody. That I don't think is such a good reason, okay? Because after we've died, we have no use for this body anymore, yeah? So might as well share it. Okay. Okay, so could you please explain the Abbey's Gautami House, the monastic resident project? If I'd like to help, how could I do that? So thank you very much, whoever wrote the question. The Abbey is one of the first monasteries in the Tibetan tradition in the US, and we've had our land and our present buildings for 4 years now, but more and more people are coming to the Abbey, and so our present buildings are too small. Yeah, and so last year for some retreats that we held, we had to have a waiting list and we had to turn people away because we didn't have enough rooms for them to sleep in, and we don't have enough toilets, and we don't have enough showers. And the men sleep out in the barn. We made a nice room for them, it's okay. But we really see that, and right now some of our bedrooms also double as offices because we just don't have the space. So we're embarking on our first building project, and we're going to build a monastic residence for the nuns, and it's called Gautami House. Gautami was the name of the Buddha's stepmother, or his aunt, who was the first nun. And so we thought it would be very nice to name the house for the nuns after her. And so we are gathering funds and inviting people's help to do this, so that we can really establish Buddhism in the West, because it's very important to have Sangha communities where people can come and train in the precepts and train in the Vinaya and practice diligently. Oh, so many questions. And so, yeah, so, our project entails building the monastic residence for the nuns, and then at the beginning, some of the women guests can also stay there, and then the men will be able to move out of the barn and into the house, okay? And we'll be able to have some more offices in the present house. We're also remodeling our kitchen, because our kitchen is too small when we have people come for retreats, and also just with the number of residents that we have there. We're clunking into each other, and we can't keep, the oven doesn't close right, and a lot of problems. So we're remodeling the kitchen. And then we're also building a retreat cabin out in the garden where people can do either solitary retreat or when we have various guest teachers where they can stay. Because right now, when my teachers come to visit the Abbey, we don't have a suitable room for them to stay in. They have to stay at one of our neighbors' houses. So we would really like to have a cabin where where my teachers and our guest teachers can come. So we're going to build a 2-room cabin as well with, running water and, bathroom and things like that. So that's our building project. And if you want to help, there's some brochures out there, and you're very welcome to make donations. We want to do some green building. If any of you know about how to use wind energy or solar energy, these kinds of things, we would certainly appreciate your help doing some research on these topics for our climate. So please feel free to join in, and also come and visit us, okay? Because after the building is there, there'll be lots more room for you to stay, and there will be showers and bathrooms. Okay. And let's see. Okay, so here's a question on the meditation called Tonglen, which means taking and giving. And this is a very powerful meditation where we, out of compassion, imagine taking on the sufferings of others, and with love we imagine giving our body and enjoyments and virtue to others. Okay, so it's a very powerful meditation practice where we think of taking others' suffering out of them. The suffering leaves them in the form of pollution, and it becomes like a lightning bolt that strikes at the self-centeredness at our own heart. And remember, our self-centeredness is our own enemy. We want to abolish it. So we use the sufferings of others, which others don't want, to destroy our own self-centeredness, which is what we don't want. And then, in place of the self-centeredness in our heart, we imagine light, and we imagine multiplying our body and our possessions and our merit and giving it to others. So somebody asked the question here, that they had a friend who had cancer who practiced this meditation, but he got worse. And so, although it says that doing this taking and giving meditation doesn't cause bad effects, sometimes it appears to do so. And so that the person is saying that according to some theories, the law of attraction, when we want suffering and sickness and all of that, our subconscious may help bring this about. So what's your opinion? When we do the taking and giving meditation, we're doing it with complete love and compassion. So it's very different than somebody who is overwhelmed by their own self-centeredness, who is kind of dotes on themselves because they feel sick, and who wouldn't mind feeling a little bit sicker so that other people would feel sorry for them and do things for them, okay? The motivation of somebody doing the taking and giving meditation is completely different than somebody who has this kind of this subconscious wish to be ill. So no, taking and giving meditation is not going to make you sicker, okay? If your friend with cancer got sick, more sick or sicker? Anyway, if they got worse, it's because of their own negative karma. It's not because of this meditation. Because negative karma is the cause of illness, virtuous motivations are not the cause of illness. Okay, it's very important to be clear about that. Okay. Okay, so somebody is asking about a verse in chapter 2, verse number 57. Let's look at it here. Okay, so the verse in chapter 2 says, "If I stand very attentive even on a smaller cliff, then how much more so on an enduring chasm of 1,000 leagues?" So the person is asking me what this verse means. So let me see what came before it. Okay, so what this means is if you're standing on the edge of a regular cliff, you're going to be really careful, right? You don't want to fall over. If you stand on the edge of the cliff of the lower realms, where you could have an unfortunate rebirth, then to not be careful and to disregard the instructions of the Buddha about cause and effect, about karma and its effects, that would be extremely foolish. Okay? So in other words, the Shantideva is saying that we should really pay very good attention while we have the Buddha's teachings on karma and the effects of karma, and try and follow them, because if we fall in over the figurative chasm into the lower realms, then that's much worse than actually falling off a regular cliff. Okay, that's the meaning of that verse. Let's see. Okay, so when we practice love and compassion, will we eventually become attached to being helpful and good, and attached to the feeling of being good and helpful? There's kind of a subtle preconception behind this question, which is, I think, that if we're happy because we do something good, and if we feel good about ourselves because we're helpful and kind, that we're really being selfish. And that somehow, to really be compassionate, we have to suffer. Okay? I kind of have the feeling that assumption is lying behind this question. Because sometimes we think that, okay, if I feel pleasure and good at all, then that's bad. And it's only when I suffer and I rip out my heart for sentient beings that then only am I being compassionate. That's a bunch of hogwash. Yeah? Why shouldn't we feel good when we help other people? Why shouldn't we rejoice at our own virtue? Love and compassion is for all sentient beings. And all sentient beings includes ourselves. So when we help others, we should feel so happy and so delighted. That doesn't mean we develop an ego identity of, oh, I'm such a kind person, I'm such a generous person. I'm not talking about developing an ego identity and getting conceited because we help somebody. I'm talking about when we genuinely act out of love and compassion, definitely we should feel happy. And we should give ourselves a pat on the back and say, this is good, I'm changing my mind. You know, my love and compassion are being more active, not my self-centered thought. Good, I'm doing a good job. You know, really, we should rejoice and encourage ourselves like this. What would you say to someone who says, I didn't ask to be born, to their parents? Well, I must admit that I used to say that to my parents when I got mad at them. Yeah. I used to, did some of you also say that to your parents? When your parents don't give you what you want, you know, or your parents criticize you, you go, I didn't ask for you to have me. You know, you decided to have me, now you take care of me. Yeah? So at least that was my mental attitude. I was quite a brat when I was younger, I think. So what would I say to somebody who says that to their parents? If you're the parent, if you say to your child, don't speak like that to me, and your child's mad at you, they probably won't hear you, okay? It's gonna take somebody else who they're not mad at to go and say, you know, that's not the way to speak to your parents. Yeah? Your parents have been kind to you, they've given you your body, they've taken care of you. No? Okay, they don't do everything you want, but they've still been kind to you. And so try and respect them and speak kindly to them. Okay? So if you're another adult or if you're a friend or whatever, I think that person may be better equipped to intervene in this situation and instruct the child. And is it realistic to vow or aspire to give everything? That is what Shantideva really saying? Are we really supposed to take it literally? In other words, do I have an out? Can I hang on to something, please? Okay. Now, Shantideva is not saying, go home and give everything away and move out of your flat and, you know, and do everything. He's not saying that, okay? Because clearly, you know, I mean, we need a certain amount of things to take care of our own life and take care of your family and your friends and so on. Yeah, but what we want to do is generate the mind that is not attached to anything we have. And when the position or the opportunity is there to give, that we feel absolutely no hindrance in giving. Okay, so it doesn't mean you have to go and give everything away tonight, okay? But it just means it's a way of thinking that loosens our attachment to things. So then when we do have the opportunity to give with wisdom, at an appropriate time, to an appropriate person, with a good motivation, then we go ahead and do that quite easily and naturally. Okay, so I didn't get through all the questions. All my questions are stacking up. I only gave you one homework assignment. Look what you did for me. Okay. So we'll continue on tomorrow night. Now, hopefully I'll get to some of these questions tomorrow night. Remember your homework assignment, to be kind to some family members between now and then. And let's just close the evening by sitting quietly for a minute, and then we'll dedicate. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.